Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
So it was 45 degrees in Rockstead, Norway today, and it was 45 degrees, oddly enough, in Elkhart Lake. And it's 30 degrees right now at the Rudskogen Motor Center where we were 2 weeks ago, and by the end of tonight's 75-minute race, that's right, Larry, 75 minutes, it should be about 30 degrees at our favorite venue. Rolling wooded hills, chilly temps, and 14 turns. It all sounds quite familiar, but it's not. Tonight, our TCR and GT4 racers head to the National Park of Speed, Road America, where their race will finally be allowed to stretch, or where their race cars will finally be allowed to stretch their legs on the many long straights, but where they must be also wary of the kink in Canada Corner and the carousel. Welcome everyone to round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sportscar Series presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth as always is Larry Lefty McLeod, and of course, let's not forget the two Johns, Jonathan Grabowski and John Robertson, who are going to be giving you all the best views of tonight's action. And so good evening, Larry, and welcome back to Road America. And, you know, after a topsy-turvy race for the World Challenge here last week, it's now time for their little brothers to shine in the Kettle Moraine.
That race last week, if people didn't watch it, need to go back and check that thing out. That was a crazy, crazy night. We could have some of the same here. We'll have to wait and see, but I think it's great. I think coming back to the same track is always fun. You know how much I do love my sausage and cheese.
Yes.
So I'm excited
Cheese
to be back
curds,
at
yes.
this. 75 minutes of fun. Cheese curds are the wave of the future. But I do love this place, and I think this will be a lot of fun here with sports cars tonight. I think some of the drivers obviously carry over, so they're familiar with the excitement, I'll put it that way, of last week's race. So they maybe have a different strategy for tonight. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Maybe not. I mean, if they do double duty as LMP drivers or with the GTP drivers, perhaps they should just
GTPs, but
yeah, maybe they should just aim to finish. I don't know.
It should be a lot of fun. This is a great track, and it's I think it's a perfect track for sports cars, so it should be a good time.
It is. All right, so you know, Larry, again, a lot of our viewers, they were here with us last week to see the World Challenge here at the National Park of Speed at Road America. And I think that most of them have a general idea of how you get your way around 4-mile, 14-turn Road America. But in case they don't, let's turn things over to Kevin Ford. He's going to give us tonight's track guide of this beautiful, beautiful race course.
Welcome, everyone, to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around one of my favorite courses, beautiful Road America. 4 miles is what it takes to get a lap done around here and 14 turns. Let's head up the front straightaway here as you notice our pit area to the right. And we'll come up on the stripe here as we come across the flag stand. You'll notice a few grandstands here on the left, but primarily the fans love to camp out and line up around the fences of the rolling hills here through Wisconsin and the beautiful course of Road America. Down through turn 1 here, we'll let that car rotate to the bottom. We'll come right back to throttle. We'll head over the crest down through turn 2 here. This will bring us into turn 3. Bit of a late apex here. I'll let that car rotate right to the bottom so we come to throttle early, get a nice run up off that exit. Want to carry a lot of speed here as this is a fairly long straightaway. This is called Moraine Sweep through this section right here. A lot of overtaking opportunities, obviously coming down into turn 5 here. Heavy brake zone. You'll see a lot of overtaking happening right here at that spot. Coming up off the corner, we'll get right through the gears, come right back up underneath the Corvette bridge here. And this will be another late apexing turn. We'll come right back to throttle. A lot of track out room there. Certainly use that up. We'll lift a little bit here for turn 7. Then we'll head down Hurry Downs here into turn 8. Back down through the gears, come back through apex, come back to throttle, then up underneath the Speedville Bridge. And treat this like a double corner here. Turns 9 and 10, coming out of 9 now, heading down into turn. We'll come back to throttle, or heading out of 10 rather. Get a good launch here. This will bring us into the famous kink at Road America. Just a lift of the throttle, come right back to power. Get a good run down into Kettle Bottoms. This is the backstretch here at Road America. This will lead us into Canada Corner, turn 11. Get a good rotation here down through the bottom of that apex. Come back to throttle. This will bring us up through turns 12 and 13 through Mitchell Bend. Up out of Bill Mitchell Bend, this will bring us to the final corner here at Road America, turn 14. Come right down to the bottom, back to throttle, let that car track all the way up off the exit. And you'll want a good run here as this final straightaway, the front straightaway, 0.8 of a mile from 14 all the way to turn 1. There you go. There's your track guide for the amazing Road America. Thank you for being with us.
All right, and thanks so much to Kevin Ford for his track guide tonight of the National Park Speed Road America, which oddly, Larry, looked so much like his track guide from last week at Road America.
It's a little slower.
Yeah, a little slower. He was in the M4 GT3 last week, and this week in the M4 GT4. So yeah, a little difference in pace there, but the thoughts are the same. So let's do this, Larry, as we are now, well, it's actually going to be a couple seconds before our drivers start to head out for qualifying. They're finishing up their drivers meeting right now, and they'll be rolling on course here momentarily. While we've got a couple seconds, why don't we just quickly take a look back 2 weeks ago, where again the Sportscar Series was at the brand new to iRacing Rudskogen Motor Center, and actually I guess in the whole scheme of things a fairly new circuit in general, only about 20 years old, and taking the win in TCR was Eric Violet from D2D eRacing in his Honda Civic Type R. His teammate Brandon Whitworth finishing in second, and those two drivers have all of the 5 wins here so far this season, with Violet taking 4, Whitworth taking 1. Nick Horvath finished up on the last step of the podium in his Lead Paw Racing Honda Civic, and then we had John Sterling and Marlon Jones finishing 4th and 5th. And so if we take a look at the point standings now in TCR, again, after 5 rounds, and I believe we are taking drops and what have you into account, it is Eric Violet currently with 154 points, 9 points up on his teammate Brandon Whitworth. Nick Horvath, pretty good distance back from there, 25 points back. The Lead Paul Racing driver has 120 points. Then we've got John Sterling from Team Collusion in his Honda Civic. He's 9 points back from Horvath, and then another 9 points back is the first of our Hyundai Elantras, Scott Brooks from Brooks Racing. He's got 102 points, and things move back from there. Pretty good spread when you take a look at the championship standings right now in TCR. All right, let's take a look at the GT4 classes, of which we have 2. We've got both our AM category, we've got our Pro category. We'll start off with the AMs, and Larry, I think we're going to have our winner from last week in here. Hopefully tonight we'll get to talk to him. We've actually talked to him quite a bit recently. I think we got to speak to him 2 weeks ago as well. Chuck Lobano from Lobano Racing, driving his Mercedes AMG GT4, took the win, and what a commanding win over Brennan Horn last week. Almost 19 seconds separating the number 34 machine from the number 45 Mercedes of Horn. With Chad Osborne finishing almost a half a minute back from there in the Redline Motorsports BMW M4. Tom Jenkins, Russ Ruddick finishing 4th and 5th at Rudskogen, which was a very difficult venue. I think probably more difficult for the GT4s than it was for the TCR cars, as the GT4 cars are trying to find ways around those TCR cars, Larry, and seemingly every time they tried to go to the outside of them, they got a slowdown penalty.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how that's going to work here tonight.
Definitely. All right, so let's take a look at the point standings now. After 5 rounds in GT4 AM, Brennan Horan, who again finished 2nd last week from D2D eRacing, he is currently sitting at the top of the championship order with 113 points. He has taken 3 of the 5 wins. And then you see Brad Husty from Midfield Motorsports and Chad Osborne from Redline Motorsports. Husty in an Aston Martin Vantage, Osborne in the BMW M4 GT4. And then we've got Russ Ruddick, John Casey. Interestingly enough, Chuck Lobano with 2 wins to his name right now, including 2 weeks ago, currently sitting 1 point back from Tom Jenkins, 7th in the standings, and that is because Mr. Lobano was not with us at the earliest junction of the season. But obviously he's looking to make some big moves here this week. And also we should note, and actually, can we go back to the point standings there for AM real quick? Also wanted to note Stephen May from Mayforce Racing, currently showing 8th in the standings. He's actually tonight going to be making a move from the BMW M4 over to the Mercedes AMG. He just hasn't really gelled with the M4, and in doing so, he is going to have to give up all of the points that he has made previously. So although he's sitting in 8th coming into the evening, that is going to be short-lived. He's going to be back towards the back of the pack here by the end of this evening. All right, so let's take a look at the Pro category, as we've got our drivers just now heading out and on their out laps for qualifying. Travis Schwenke took the win at Rudskogen in his Orion Racing BMW M4. Margin of victory over Mike Dam, 1 second. Those two were in lockstep at the very end of that race there, after Dam had some pretty large challenges over the course of that race. David Payton from D2D eRacing in his Aston Martin Vantage finished about 20 seconds back from the 2 leaders. He finished 3rd. Steve Daniel from SKKJ Racing in his BMW M4 finished about 10 seconds back from there in 4th. And then Orion Racing's Robert Hartley, who had a very big off on the very first lap and was in recovery mode almost for the entire race. He finishes in 5th ahead of Jeff Jacobs. And so if we take a look at the point standings now in Pro, it is Travis Schwenke with 4 wins. He is currently your points leader at 153, 14 points up on his teammate Mike Dam from Orion Racing, and then Robert Hartley with that off night a couple weeks ago, sitting at 132 points back in third. He has 1 win, so it's 4 for Schwenke, 1 for Hartley at this point. Chris Thorman fourth, Jeff Jacobs fifth, and you can see that they are very, very close. They're in the battle for fourth, but still most of the field they're quite a bit back from the 3 Orion Racing teammates. Larry, as we now have qualifying underway here at the National Park of Speed, and we're following Travis Schwenke, again our winner from 2 weeks ago. And I think as he is now working his outlap here, Larry, as we always do, let's explain that these drivers, they have 4 laps in order to set a fast lap here in qualifying. And that fastest lap, of course, will be used to set the grid for tonight's 75-minute race when they're out on track. It's what we call lone qualifying. They, much like we're watching only one car now, it appears to the drivers that they have the entire 4 miles and 14 turns of Road America all to themselves, so that they don't have to deal with traffic. They don't have to worry about having to pick up the draft. It is all based on driver talent and driver control, as we now watch Robert Hartley completing his, or not completing, but yeah, actually getting close to completing here his outlap. This would be his outlap, I think. He got a little bit later start than everybody else. He's going to be starting his first flying lap here. As we'll have our timing tower come up in just a few moments here, let's tell you how we can differentiate between those 2 different GT4 classes. Right now, as we watch Robert Hartley start his first flying lap, he is one of our GT4 Pro racers, and you can pick out the Pro racers. They've got the red number boards on the side of their cars. They've got the red mirrors and red windshield banners, and they've got red end plates on the wings as well. Whereas our AM category drivers, and let's tell you what, let's pick up here Chuck Labano, again our winner from 2 weeks ago in the Labano Racing Machine, the number 34 Mercedes. Those GT4 AM drivers, they've got the green number boards on the car, the green windshield banners, as you can see there, in mirrors as well, and green end plates on the wings as well. And when we have them up on our timing tower, you'll see their positions based on those colors: red for Pro, green for AM, and then of course we've got our TCR cars. None of our TCR drivers have put in times as of yet, but there we have, for example, John Sterling in the number 87 Honda Civic Type R, the TCR cars, which are primarily made up of the Honda Civics, Hyundai Elantras and Velocitors, the Audi RS4s, and well, there's one I'm missing. What am I missing here? Oh, the Velocitors and the two Hyundais and the Civic. There we go. But the TCR cars, they will have blue number boards, blue mirrors, blue windshield banners, blue end plates, you name it, it's in blue. Just like Brandon Whitworth, who just set his first flying lap and is your fastest driver for the moment in TCR, 13th overall, as we're starting to see some more TCR times come in.
Interesting to see Travis Schwenke currently at the top of the leaderboard there in the GT4 Pro. In practice, I should say, he was only in the mid-15s, so maybe he didn't get a lot of laps in, but made his first lap count so far. Still obviously early on this monster long track, but Travis on his game already right there. And Chris Thorman also was quick in practice, showing some pretty good speed again here tonight, so keep your eye out for that Thorman car. Hartley now on the board with a 2:14.5. So right now it's 1, 2, 3 for the Orion boys. Let's see if Thorman or Peyton from D2D can crack that top 3.
That's right. So Hartley on his very first flying lap goes to the top of the leaderboard, as we now watch David Payton in the D2D E-Racing Aston Martin Vantage as he comes through that high-speed kink and runs, doesn't run all that wide. Might have dropped a edge of a wheel in the dirt there as he makes the run down to Canada Corner. This is his second of 4 possible flying laps.
Well, there you go. Chris Thorman now just having finished his lap there. cracks into the top 2 for a moment. Back down to 3 now as Travis Schwenke bumps him down to 3rd, but Thorman does break through that Orion 123. So now it's an Orion 124 and a T2D 256.
I'm out of fingers already. But yeah, I mean, you look at the difference there between Schwenke and now Mike Dam from Orion going to the top of the leaderboard with a 2:14.48. So just about 14 hundredths of a second clear, or actually 4 hundredths of a second clear of Robert Hartley. And I was just going to mention that there were only about 4 hundredths of a second separating Schwenke and Thorman as well. So really tight there, up at the front of the leaderboard. And, you know, and just like Larry, when I watch Formula One, and it always astounds me how over the course of 2 miles or so in Formula One, you could find like the top 5 drivers all within, you know, like 7 or 8 hundredths of a second. You know, here over a 4-mile course to find these drivers so closely matched. Really quite astounding, as we're on board right now with Brandon Whitworth, who is your fastest driver currently in TCR. He's got a fast time that looks of a 2:20.9. He just set that on his previous lap, only his second. And as we always know, Larry, kind of lurking there in the back, Eric Violet, his teammate, is, I think, working his second lap right now. But Violet, usually the last driver on track to set a time, and usually pulls a TCR pole out of a hat.
I think he likes those cooler temps, and so it's one of those places where if you just wait a little bit longer, the track will come down just a little bit, gives you a little bit better lap time there with those cooler temps. But we know how these cars are anyway. It's really just going to come down to who can keep it clean and maybe be there in the end. It's going to be a long race tonight. This 75 minutes. A lot of times we do the 1-hour sprints. The 75-minute means you have to maybe take care of those tires a little bit around that carousel before killing that left front. Yeah,
and so, you know, one of the other, I think, challenges in what Eric was saying is after iRacing rolled out their new season last week, there were some fairly substantial changes to the ABS functionality in the TCR cars. And Eric's been working quite a bit, at least on the Honda Civic, to try and figure out the best way to get his braking confidence back. And it apparently involves moving the brake bias all the way to the rear of the car, or at least iRacing, as far as iRacing is concerned, to the rear of the car. And also making some pretty big changes to the traction control settings as well. So we'll see how that plays out for them, how it plays out for the other TCR drivers as well, and whether or not it's something that they can come to grips with fairly early, or if it's something that will challenge them as they do start to run off those front tires towards the end of the race.
I'm just fascinated by the purple shiny wheels there on Eric Violet's car. They've gone full shiny. I love it.
Yes.
A little extra update there to the trim there on his vehicle. Looking good. Still, though, only second through his couple laps in. He's got 2 laps in. He's out there on his 3rd right now.
And had a little bit of a moment there with the rear end stepping out on him in turn 1. And what he was saying, Larry, is part of those braking issues is they're having to try to trail brake these cars maybe a little bit more than they had in the past, which might also explain about the extra little bit of rotation there coming through turn 1. But again, very different braking theories going in these cars right now, and apparently it does extend far beyond just the Honda Civic Type R, but the Hyundais and the Audis, and we don't have any Audis in the field here tonight, but the Audi is also affected by these changes.
Be interesting to see now. We're kind of the first race of the season with that. So those changes, who can adapt? Right now, it does look like Whitworth is the quicker of those 2, but Violet maybe has a chance to catch him here on his last lap. But Sterling and Brooks are really close there. So maybe it's kind of brought the group together again.
All right, so Larry, we've got him sitting he's in the green room, but I also see that he's working his last flying lap right now. Chuck Labano, let's not bother him on his last lap as he's heading up the hill underneath the Corvette bridge over at turn 6. But we know that when he is done, we're not going to have a ton of time to talk to him, I don't think, but we'll bring him in there at the end. So right now, Chuck Labano, who is our winner in round number 5, he is currently your 4th fastest GT4 AM driver, behind currently Chad Osborne in the BMW, Brennan Horn in his Mercedes, and our provisional pole sitter, Larry. It pains me to say it, but Bobby Childs, your fastest GT4 AM driver in the D2D number 88 Mercedes. And
He's
wow,
back.
Yeah, Mike Dam already setting up for the photo shoot.
Maybe. Already thinking that's a good spot to take those photos here at the sunset.
Exactly. Full course blockage, be damned. All right, let's see here as we watch Robert Hartley coming around the final corner, coming around turn 14. He's going to start heading up the hill, up the Road America straight. Let's see if he can improve upon Mike Dan's provisional pole time of a 2:14.48. He was only 0.05 of a second off of it coming onto this lap. And as Hartley crosses the line, he goes to pole, 2:14.32 the time. And Larry, that is almost 0.4 of a second faster than most folks who are running during the practice earlier this week as well. What a slam in time. All right, so looks like Larry Chuck Labano now has pulled off track. He is done with his final flying lap. So let's talk to the driver of the number 34 Labano Racing GT4 AM Mercedes.
All right, Chuck Labano. So you come into this race with a couple of good runs in the last 2 rounds at some of the newer tracks, but now we're at one of the old favorites. What are you thinking here about the America's Park of Speed here at Road America?
Well, a lot of people love it. I just happen to be not one of them. At least, yeah. Well, at least with the other 2, everything was fair, so I had a fair chance. Here, I don't have a lot of time here, so a lot of the guys that have spent years here are going to have the advantage over me, and I'm okay with that. I've accepted it. I just want to finish this one.
Yeah, well, looks like not so bad so far. Looks like you're about 4th on the M category qualifying list. Bobby, though, has got a couple of folks between he and yourself, and then he, of course, got Brennan Horn and Mr. Osborne there in between. But is there a position you're shooting for you'd be happy with tonight, knowing that maybe you don't have the advantage in terms of track experience?
You know what? Anytime I can finish in the top 10, I'm feeling pretty good. And I would consider a podium victory.
Did you get a chance to watch the multi-class race we called last week at this track? Of course, that was in the World Challenge with the GTPs and GT3s, but I don't know if you had a chance to see how those classes interacted, if you think you have any of the same type of issues we might have tonight.
I don't think so. I mean, we got a few less people here, and everyone here seems to be really good at big picture racing. Even when you fight them, right? It's you're given lots of space. Even the 2 classes, you give a little more space in between. Everyone's really polite, right down to the lappers when you get around them. It's like they get out of your way, and life goes on.
Yeah, well, good luck tonight. Looks like grid's forming up. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk to you again, and good luck. 75 minutes. Good long race for you. Enjoy.
Awesome. I'm here at the end.
Good luck.
All right, there you go. That was Chuck Labano, driver of the number 34. And let me see if I can actually get him out of the room here. There we go. Chuck Labano, driver of the number 34 Labano Racing AMG GT4 Mercedes. And so we now have our drivers lining up, gridding up on the front straight here on the Road America straight at, oddly enough, Road America. Let's run down the starting order, Larry.
All right, on pole tonight from Orion Racing. You're going to hear that a lot here in the first couple rows. It's Robert Hartley ahead of his teammate, Mike Dam, on the outside. Row 2 on the inside is a third of our Orion drivers. Travis Schwenke comes in with a points lead. He's going to have to pass a couple teammates if he wants to win this one. He'll be lined up alongside Chris Thorman from D2D eRacing. On the third row is the fastest of our AM qualified drivers, Bobby Childs, back with a vengeance here from D2D. Lined up alongside one of the veterans, Jeff Jacobs from StreetSurvival.org. Row 4 on the inside, it's David Payton, says CT Racing on that one. Lined up alongside Brennan Horn, another one of our D2D e-racing drivers from the AM category. On row 5, Chad Osborne on the inside from Redline Motorsports. He's in the AM class. He'll be lined up alongside pro driver Steve Daniel from SKKJ Racing. On row 6 on the inside, we just talked to him, Chuck Labano from Labano Racing. Comes in on a 2-race win streak here in the AM category. See if he can pull it off and make it 3. He'll be lined up alongside Russ Ruddock on the outside, flying Tortoise Motorsport. On row 7, it's Tom Jenkins on the inside, Midfield Motorsports. Alongside, that would be Eduardo Lorente from Courage Motorsports. On row 8, it's Dale Maxwell on the inside from Team 1 Racing, alongside Stephen May from May Force. And finally, it's John Casey on that row 9 from Frito Sport Racing.
All right, and in TCR, your pole sitter tonight from D2D Racing is Brandon Whitworth, driver of the number 42 Honda Civic Type R. Starting right next to him will be his teammate Eric Violet, who called off that last flying lap that he had in qualifying. Whitworth has 1 win on the season. Violet has 4. John Sterling is going to start on the inside of row number 2 with Marlon Jones starting right beside him in 4th. And then rounding out the field is going to be Scott Brooks. Both Brooks and Jones running the Hyundai Elantras tonight.
All right, everybody gets a chance to warm their tires up a little bit around this very long circuit here as they run down that back straight. And I think it's going to be one of those crazy nights again. I think a lot of activity early in this race, maybe not quite like what we had last week, because the speed delta here, of course, isn't quite as strong between the GT4s and the TCRs as it was between the GTPs and GT3s. But I think we could have some really good racing, a nice long format. I think tire wear is going to be an issue for a lot of the drivers trying to manage that. We'll see if we know often the Orion cars tend to push all the way to the end. On single set, we'll see if they decide to change tires.
I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult tonight, Larry, because one of the things they've cut down on the amount of fuel available to the GT4 cars tonight, and we're actually predicting possibly 2 stops for the majority of the GT4 drivers. So maybe we'll see 1 for the Orion boys, but if they run all the way, they may need to take about a 5-gallon splash at the very end of the race in order to get to the checkered flag.
So a strategy of fuel saving somewhere along the way may come in real handy, and a yellow makes it very possible to get to the end on 1 stop.
And we'll see how that plays out for them. Not going to have nearly the same strategy for the TCR cars. We think that they can get somewhere around 43, 44 minutes on a full tank. So they should be able to do 1 stop and then make it to the checkered flag. As we've got the pace car now bringing the field down the Kettle Bottoms down towards Canada Corner. One of the more beautiful corners, I think, in motor racing here as you come down this run, Larry, and you've got, as you can see here, the trees overhanging, even on the brightest and sunniest of days, how it just kind of goes dark on you as you come down into Canada.
That pathway that's down that way, you can either get to it from corner 5 or from all the way down at the near the other end, near the kart track and all. Over by the Hurry Downs, over by turn 8. Beautiful path. You can take golf cart down there. You can sit down there. There's a nice bleacher on the inside of the corner. Awesome place to watch from.
Beautiful place. And then you rise up as you come up here through Bill Mitchell, and you come up out of the trees and the sun, or the snow, or the rain, or the sleet, or the hail. Sometimes all in the same race will come up and hit you. As the pace car now is on the pit lane, Larry, and we turn things over to our pole sitter, Mike Dam, there in the number 93 machine, or probably to Robert Hartley, I'm sorry, in the number 3 machine with Mike Dam on the outside as they bring the field to the start line. And we wait, and there we go. Green flag is in the air. We had a real-life starter give the start signal, and they are underway. And with Hartley jumping out to a pretty early lead here into turn number 1. Schwenke's going to slot in right behind Mike Dam into 3rd, with Chris Thorman in 4th. Jeff Jacobs, Bobby Childs there in the D2D machine, starting to come down the inside. He's got David Payton trying to get up to him, and we've got Horan and Payton side by side coming through turn 3 as our TCR machines now get the green flag on the front straight. The 2 D2D E-Racing teammates there, of Violet on the outside, driver's left. He gets an early jump on Brandon Whitworth, who was your pole sitter, and right behind him we can see jockeying for position both John Sterling and Scott Brooks as they are side by side going into turn 1 for the very first time and heading down the hill. with Marlon Jones sliding in behind in 5th.
Yeah, everybody seems to have gotten through the first couple corners clean in both classes, so we'll see how that sorts out. The GT4s, they'll make the run down to 8.
Yeah, Schwenke running a little bit wide coming out of turn 7 and going down the hurry downs, but he gets the car back under control. Straight line there into 8, and he's in good shape. As we're watching right now, Jeff Jacobs in that orange Mercedes AMG. He's got the Mercedes of Brendan Horn directly behind him. Horn currently running 2nd in AM. He's trying to get around Jacobs. His fight is with the car just ahead of that orange number 38. It's the 88 Mercedes of Bobby Childs.
His teammate there, Bobby, a good aggressive start to stay in front of Jeff Jacobs. Probably a good move as Brennan's now side by side, the 2 AMGs outbraking each other down into Canada. It does look like Horn's got the position to now make the move to try and chase down teammate Bobby up in front of him. Bobby running the big Mercedes motor. We know how much he loves his Italian powered cars, but here in GT4s, he's going to stick with the Merc. And a little bit of a madness coming out of the back here as we've got some sort of a mix-up.
Yeah, it looks like Russ
Ruddick.
Yeah, Ruddick just lost a number of positions. It looks like we had Stephen May in the number 5 machine. May have had some issues along with Dale Maxwell, both in the Mercedes there, but I think big issues for Ruddick.
Yeah, that's Eduardo Lorente there in the Porsche, just ahead of Russ, coming up the main straight. So we'll see if we can get back to that in a bit as we flash to our TCRs, and it's still a DTD 1-2 with Violet in the lead over Whitworth as they come up around the end of lap 1.
Yeah, and already starting, well, you know, I was going to say starting to open things up on John Sterling. It's about a second right now separating Whitworth in the 2nd position back to John Sterling in the number 87 car in those the Honda Civics, and it looks as though the Hyundais may be at least early on a little bit off the pace of the 3 Civics ahead.
It is early, but yeah, so far the Civics have a bit of the advantage here with the 2 D2Ds out in front, playing nice to try and stay in step and in line and to keep Sterling's draft advantage to a minimum. As we're on board now with Brandon Whitworth chasing down a teammate in front of him. Just staying in his tail. Probably doing a little bit of fuel savings if we had heard some of the pre-race stuff.
Remember, I get all my TCR notes from him. and they're coming down into turn 5 early on, side by side here.
This is going to help Sterling behind him for sure. Now you got a 3-way fight.
Yeah, that definitely allowed Sterling to work up a little bit closer to the 42 and the 89. And may have allowed John Sterling as well to close things up. He's now with, or probably Scott Brooks to close things up. He knocked off almost a half a second.
Nope, and then we've got a little bit of battle going on. That's Jacobs on the inside. Now I want to say that is Payton, David Payton, I think, just getting on by.
And that is a battle for position in Pro as David Payton now takes over 5th position in GT4 AM, or probably in GT4 Pro.
Looks like we've got the 3 Orion cars leading the way, and then 4 DTDs go replay on board with, I believe, on board with Jacobs.
Well, I think this was the incident we saw with Ruddick and Lorente. And
this is on board Lorente on the outside there. A little bit of a help to Ruddick.
Yeah, and I think that was Stephen May, and I think as we saw Ruddick make the run down the pedal bottoms, it was either Ruddick, it was either Stephen May or Dale Maxwell, either the 5 or the 111 Mercedes that was right with him.
I think it's the 5 is the one under review along with Russ Ruddick, currently by the stewards. I suspect that's Stephen May in that Mercedes in the all black trim.
Yeah, and it looks like the 111 car just kind of got caught up in it in the tail end of it there, but obviously we saw that Lorente in the Porsche kind of an uninterested observer until he became part of the action there on the outside of Canada. As we jump back to real time, and we're on board right now with our AM category leader. That is Bobby Childs in the 88 D2D. As you mentioned, we're running the Mercedes, not running the rear wheel drive and rear engine Italian hardware here, obviously, because we don't have any for him to race in GT4.
But he is right now sandwiched between a whole lot of his teammates. He's got friends around him. You've got from the pro class, you got Thorman Payton, and of course himself leading AM, and Brennan Horn right behind him also in AM. So you've got 4 D2D cars chasing down these 3 Orion cars. We have inter-team battles going on. And so it could be a lot of fun. We'll see if Brennan Horn, you can see it, look at that, right up behind Bobby as they come through Canada Corner. But it looks quicker actually right now. He didn't qualify better as good as Bobby did, but Brendan's got the faster car at this stage. Oh, Bobby runs wide.
Yeah, Bobby runs very wide coming through Bill Mitchell, and that may throw off his exit speed coming through 14. It looks like he managed to recover fairly well.
Yeah, just keep your foot in it, hang on for the best, and he looks like he did. Got the car hustled back over and made his exit onto the front straight, but he's trying to catch and sniff just a bit of that draft off the back of Thorman. I think that's right in front of him.
And as they come into one, you can see that just that very quick brush of the brakes. High speed corner is turn 1. A little bit of a wiggle from Brennan Horn as they head down the hill towards turn 3.
Turn 1 here, I love it. It's one of those corners that you can almost never turn in early enough. You just have to get in the brakes and just throw it across at apex, use all of it, and plan on running wide to the apron or the exit. If you can see through the corner before you turn in, you're too late.
All right, let's move back a little bit further in the field. Behind those D2D machines, we've got, for example, we saw Jeff Jacobs earlier in the orange Mercedes. He's got Chad Osborne in the BMW directly behind, and then it is Steve Daniel, who is currently running at the tail end of the pro field in that, I don't know what you call that color, brown and green. Yeah. I don't know. But the number 96 machine, he's currently running 7th, and Chuck Labano directly behind him. He's the tail car in that pack as Labano takes a quick look to the inside as they come underneath the Speedville Bridge going into the carousel. And you know, this is a place where, at least in the GT4 cars, Larry, a little bit hard for you to step offline to take the outside lane around the carousel. I don't think the GT4 cars necessarily have the aero to be able to do that. So you're gonna very rare you're going to find passing opportunities there in the carousel. At least in these cars, you may see them in the TCR cars possibly.
It's a good little grouping going on here. Some good little battles of different cars. Obviously the BMW kind of sandwiched in there from Steve Daniel, with the Mercedes just behind him with Chuck Labano. Seems to enjoy that Mercedes, but maybe as this race goes on, Chuck could be getting faster. He talked about not getting a lot of seat time here, not as much of certainly as he was able to get in the other races. So perhaps as he gets up to speed here, maybe that'll be a benefit. It's Bobby Childs in the pits,
and he may be taking an early pit stop, Larry. Again, these are we know that again, these drivers likely in GT4 would have to take 2 pit stops, and we'll see here as he comes in. This may be a fair, I mean, he'll probably end up filling the tank at this point, but that should give him a very short stop at the end of the race.
Interesting strategy, because he was running in a good little pack there with his teammate. Maybe he thought perhaps he was holding up Brennan Horn, decided to just kind of get out of his way and
possible
take his race to some space somewhere else. Be interesting to see how this plays out.
You know, and as we were talking about Labano, I think it was very interesting because we talked both pre and Labano with a little bit of a wiggle there coming out of 5. We had talked to Labano, I think, pre-race last time as well, and you know, and certainly we heard his elation after winning at Rudskogen, and it's so odd to me to hear he said he really loved that track, and I think, you know, the advantage that he had was that he was able to pick it up fairly quickly, and like everybody else that was racing there nobody had gotten a lot of seat time at Rudskogen going into it. It's not a track that you race a lot, as opposed to here where he thinks he's, you know, behind the 8 ball, that there are so many other racers that have raced Road America for years. But you know, regardless, to be sitting in 4th position right now, or actually now 3rd, as Bobby Childs pitted in, you know, he's still sitting in the top half of the field here. I think it's, you know, certainly commendable for somebody who doesn't have a lot of seat time at the track.
Yeah, and I think for this stage of the race, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do, keeping it close to the podium positions, and just see how this race goes. We know these long races, we know incidents happen, so all you do is keep your nose clean and see how it shakes down. And he's on a pretty good run right now, just tailing behind Steve Daniel, who, as you can tell by the red mirrors, the red windshield banner, and the red end plates on his wings. That is a pro class car.
You almost sound like you, Larry.
And to get them all in.
You got the whole cadence down. That was good.
Of course. I've listened to it every Monday night for the last 2 years. I know. All right, back to the front of the field. We've got our 3 Orion cars, still with Rob Hartley leading the way, and Chris Thorman kind of hanging with them. Brenner Horn, your AM leader, just a couple car lengths back, probably can't even sniff draft. So if he wants to get up in there, he's going to have to hustle a little bit. But a good little gruesome, a gripping, something like that, formation of these 3 BMWs followed by the Aston. And I do wonder at this stage, we talked about the extra pit stop. We watched Bobby already take his. Of these Orion cars, I got to figure they're going to be doing some fuel saving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we see it almost every week from them. I should also mention Dale Maxwell has taken to the pit lane as well. We'll see. Don't think he had an incident before, so he may just be taking an early stop, running wide, running deep and wide, going into turn 5 is Stephen May. You know, Larry, we might see him in maybe an Aston Martin next time by.
Hey, oh wait, bad joke. Yes, so hopefully he's able to kind of steer clear of the stuff, but that right there, he's already been given that penalty, and he's going to probably try and keep his nose clean the rest of this race.
Yeah. And as we take a look here, and it took a few laps, Larry, but now, at least for the time being, it looks like, just as I say that, it looks like Whitworth was going to take a quick look to the inside, but Whitworth and Violet had started to work their way clear of John Sterling in the number 87 Civic Type R. Difference now, what, almost I think almost 3 seconds now separating Violet from Sterling.
I get the feeling that Mr. Whitworth doesn't really want to sit behind his buddy Mr. Violet for very long, so you saw him already poking out as they went into 5. We may see some more of that going into Canada. I suspect we may have a good little battle. These guys aren't the type of racers that want to wait 74 minutes before putting on a good show. I suspect we're going to see them dicing it up here very soon.
Yeah, and look, we've seen them work together before, you know, with the plan always being that when one goes in for, you know, as long as they stay close, when one goes and pits in from the lead car usually will be the first car to take the pit stop, so that the other driver can pick up a point for leading a race, leading a race lap. But there have definitely been times where we've seen them jockey for position. There have been a couple of courses, and I think you know, a great example of it, Larry, was actually at I'm trying to remember which track it was when Whitworth took the win. I believe, if I remember correctly, was it Mount Panorama that he just kind of walked away from Violet, if I remember correctly?
I could tell you in a second. He did win at, yes, Mount Panorama. Good memory on you.
Yeah, and you know, just there are just some times where Whitworth just appears to have pace that Violet can't keep. Otherwise, the two racers are so eerily similar. It's seemingly most tracks.
All right, as we flash on board here with Steve Daniel still in the middle of this battle, with Chuck Labano right behind him, not in the same class, but also Daniel out in front of them. They've got Chad Osborne, another one of the AM drivers in that BMW, just a few car lengths up there, just trailing behind Jeff Jacobs in that Pro Class Merc. There they are.
And you know, we were tracking that pit stop that Dale Maxwell took, and you know, I think it was his, you know, a scheduled stop for him. He was in his pit stall almost 5 seconds shorter period of time than Bobby Childs was, and only came in I think 2 laps later. So we'll see how the rest of the GT4.
Very interesting for Bobby to have taken that stop, especially that long, because at that point in the race, you don't have much room to put that much fuel.
No.
Which means he must have taken tires, but maybe his thought was take the tires now and try and make it to the end, but we're pretty sure he can't make it to the end on fuel. So we'll see how this plays out for Bobby as this race goes on. He's got some work to do. He's all there in the clear all by himself right now, nobody around him, so he's just running his race. But he is running 2:15.6 last time for Bobby, but the front of the field is running 2:14. So we'll see. We'll see what happens to Bobby. He's always a fun one to watch. Now that he's back on, he had taken a few weeks off there.
Yeah, Horn, and the front of the AM field right now. Horn is running a 2:15.2. Osborne also at 2:15.2, and as you can see with Childs having pitted in, Horn now sitting all by himself as he's dropped. He is a little bit off the pace of his teammate Chris Norman, who's currently sitting 4th at Pro. As you mentioned, the drivers up at the front of the field all running in the 2:14s. Right now, Schwenke falling a little bit off the pace of both Hartley and Dan, maybe doing a little bit of fuel savings, but both Schwenke and Thorman running 2:14.6s currently.
As it looks like we have some interclass mixing going on. That, of course, is the 111 of Dale Maxwell making his way through the leaders in TCR, Violet and Whitworth. Whitworth now leading that pair.
Yes, so we now have a new leader in TCR, and if we ever get a chance to take a look at the hood of Dale Maxwell's Mercedes, I'm pretty sure he's got the Thunder Chicken going on right there.
Beautiful stuff.
It's
it is. Look at that. You can see it.
That's right. Mr. Trans Am himself. There's the shot.
Rest in peace, Burt Reynolds. He's eastbound and down right now.
Oh my!
Actually, I think he's westbound.
Yes.
At that moment, he was westbound.
We're gonna get in so much trouble. All right. Yes, he was. Yeah, he's. I think like Stephen May having a little trouble getting his braking done going into 5. As we take a look now, Jeff Jacobs pulling up right behind the number 24 machine of Chad Osborne, and
Chad was behind Jeff Jacobs a couple laps ago, so he's made his way around, and now it looks like Jacobs is going to have to fight off behind him again. A couple of more. He got Steve Daniel, of course. He and Jeff always seem to come together at some point in the race. Always. And then you've got Mr. Chuck Romano right there behind them. So a good little scrap here, 4 ways, 2 different classes, 2 drivers from each, mixing it up here in the middle race.
And now, Larry, we get to listen to the not quite as glorious sound of the GT4 version of the AMG, but
it's
still
not
sounds
bad.
It's not bad at all.
It sounds just like my Miata. Okay, maybe not.
No. When you're running the Miata with an open pipe.
And a few extra cylinders.
That's right.
Now, let's see here. If Chuck Romano did a good job of just sort of staying in this. Remember, he's not in necessarily a position battle with either Steve Daniel or Jeff Jacobs in front of him, but he is chasing down Mr. Osborne, who's currently 2nd in that AM class. So Chuck Romano wants to stay with the 2 pro drivers and not lose sight of Chad Osborne.
And a little confidence. I was just going to say a little confidence tap there from Chad Osborne.
Yep. I prefer that more of like a medium lift. You don't transfer as much weight, but maybe that's what he needs right now. He is quicker of this 4.
Yeah.
So
yeah, as long as he's not transferring too much weight over the nose and off of the rear end, the car looked rather stable there. It might be counteracted based on the wing settings that he has on the car. I would think here at Road America that most of the drivers would probably have the wings trimmed out pretty well, but let's see here. He's got good pace down the front straight. We did see on the last lap where Jacobs was able to draft back up to the rear of the BMW, but
got a pretty good exit this time.
Yeah, very good exit coming out of 14.
That turn one, though, I tell you, looked like just a little bit late. You know, I look at that is if you can get your inside tire just about rubbing the grass on that apex, then you're doing it right. Same thing here, probably at 3. You just got to use those curbs, get all the exit speed.
Yeah, and you know, and 3 is such a deceptive corner there as you come down the hill, as it flattens out. You know, it looks like just a standard 90-degree turn, but it feels like a decreasing radius corner.
It's a little tighter than that.
Yeah, the exit just comes up on you so quickly.
And the fact that it's downhill, a little bit off camber, there's a little bit of a camber gain right at the apex. By the middle of the track, it starts to kind of twist the other way, and it makes it a very deceiving corner when it comes to the grip. But because it is the second longest straightaway on the track, you've really got to get your exit.
You got to nail it. Yeah.
I think it's the second longest. I'm pretty sure the front straight's the longest.
I would agree.
And the run from Canada, or from the kink to down to Canada, is pretty long, but not quite as long as the other two. I love this track.
Kettle Bottom's should be, I think, the third longest. Speaking of which, as we watch Hartley and Dam and Schwenke, we saw Schwenke running about a second off of what Hartley and Dam had been running just 2 laps ago. He is now back on pace. Not only is he back on pace, he's within 100th or so of Robert Hartley, and he's pulling back up to the lead pack here.
Yeah, it doesn't take too long. If you can get within that second, you can at least sniff a little bit of draft. And then if you got 2 cars in front of you, you get just that much more of a draft to work with. And if you're up really close, then you can definitely use a fuel-saving strategy and just do a little bit of lift coast before you go to the brakes at the end of the straightaway. All that adds up to less fuel stops if you can pull that off.
And you saw there about 3/4 of the way down the straight as the slipstream draft really kicked in a little bit for Mike Dam there. He took a quick look to the inside on Robert Hartley, and I think he realized that by the time he would have gotten up to Hartley's, even his quarter panel, they would have probably already been right about the point where they needed to turn in. They wouldn't have carried a lot of speed down the hill, but it's just so, you know, it never appears that the draft works well in these cars, but on that super long front straight, it just finally, it's like it clicks, and all of a sudden he picked up like 3/4 of a car length in almost nothing.
When you're barreling down there to $150, you tend to get a little bit more draftability than at other tracks where the straighters aren't long enough to make that much draft difference. But here, you got several of them, as we just talked about. All 3 of them. Great places to pick up just a little bit of draft in one of these cars.
And the one driver that isn't in the draft, and a bit to his peril, is Chris Thorman in the number 60 D2D machine there.
Still running some solid laps last time by, 2:14.6, which was the 4th quickest car on the track. The problem is the other 3 are all in front of him, with Hartley, Dam, and Schwenke all sub 2:14.5.
Right. Well, and if you look at that last lap, what the draft did for Dam and what it did for Schwenke, they were down to a 2:14.1.
Yeah.
On the last lap, almost 0.4 of a second faster than Hartley ahead of them. If they stay locked to the bumper of the number 3 machine, I don't think they'll hit that. They'll be able to do that again. But
at this point, it's the Hartley Towing Company leading the Orion Brigade here at the front.
As long as the train doesn't derail.
Let's not even go there.
No, I don't think they're getting. I don't think they're moving as far south as Mid Ohio. All right. As we now are working lap number 12, as we, Larry, are just about a full hour into the race here, and we jump back over to this little battle here. We've got the blue BMW of Chad Osborne, the number 24 machine. He is currently running 2nd in AM. He's got Jeff Jacobs currently 6th in Pro directly behind him. Then Steve Daniel, who's trying to find a way around the Mercedes of Jacobs. And then Chuck Labano is our interview guest.
Wait to see if Labano gets comfortable enough to start making a move at some point. He did just turn a lot of these cars right now turning the personal bests. He just did a 2:15.31, just a touch quicker than Jacobs' 2:15.37. Chad Osborne's last lap was a 2:15.9. So Labano did pick up a couple tenths as this little This grouping, this foursome. It's the two words I was trying to make. It's not gruesome yet. That's gruesome though.
That was gruesome,
that is
Larry.
exit 1.
Yeah, that might have included a car in a gravel trap, and indeed it does. Yeah, Mayforce Racing, the number 5 Mercedes, off in the gravel trap on the exit of 1, and he is now back underway. Hey, Larry, let's do this. As we're coming up towards the top of the hour, again, we estimated that these drivers would probably be able to do a max of about I think 14 laps on a full tank, and we're getting kind of close to that. We're just wrapping up lap number 12, so let's take a break now. Let's thank some of our sponsors, and hopefully when we come back, everybody's going to start hitting the pit lane right in front of us. We'll be right back. You're watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Classic Sports Car Series, presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And we're back here at the National Park Speed Road America for the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series. It's round number 6, presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. I'm Greg Ginsburg with Larry Lefty McLeod. And Larry, wouldn't you know?
Yes, all the excitement.
No
just as we all went to break.
But
Let's start with the car that we were on as we came back from break. That was Dale Maxwell coming down the pit lane after smacking the turn 14 wall really hard. And luckily, he was just a few hundred yards away from pit in, so that's where he limped in.
Yeah, never mind the fact that he came right across our 2 liters in TCR, which, by the way, has changed yet again. Just as we had gone to break, we had Eric Violet and Brandon Whitworth battling for the lead, going side by side through turns 1, 2, and 3. Whitworth had taken the lead, and we can see now Eric Violet has retaken the point here in TCR.
And if you don't like when we take commercial breaks, you can file a complaint at Ginsburg at Apex. Never mind.
Yeah,
but this in the pits is David Payton, who had his own little moment there while we were on break. He looked like he's going to just go ahead and take that opportunity to come in, do his stop now. And then we also had a change of the lead in GT4 Pro, where Mike Dam took the lead over teammate Rob Hartley. And there you can see the 3 Orion drivers. Now it's orange ahead of yellow as the 3 of them come up behind the Elantra of, I believe that's Scott Brooks.
That's Scott Brooks in the number 49 machine.
Scott's just making his way around carousel and saying, I got a train of Orion behind me. I don't know what to do.
And you remember when I said that the GT4 cars would go around the outside in the carousel? Well, there you go. Mike Dam took a look at it for a second. It moved the car out like half a car width, and said, "Oh, that's not going to work," and just slotted back behind the TCR car.
And Scott did a good job of just tucking to the inside there as they went down the short chute before the King, and made sure that he was just out of the way of those three currently in battle. And of course, the next car behind them is going to be Chris Thorman, right behind Scott Brooks. So he's got one more to go before maybe he gets a clear space.
Let's take a look and see what happened to David Payton here. Oof.
That's a lot of wall.
It's a lot of wall.
Trying to get back on the track, make a left. As there you go, now making the moves, Chuck Labano getting around Steve Daniel, not for position in class, but that's position on the track. I was thinking that Labano was going to get a little more comfortable with this place. That might have just shown it. He finally got comfortable where to hit the brakes going into Canada. That's a spot for position on track. Now he's one spot closer to second in class of Chad Osborne. A little bit of work to do to catch the fellow AMG driver in Jeff Jacobs, that orange car in front of him, but just in front of Jeff is Chad Osborne, the second spot currently held in AM category.
Watch him head down into turn one as Jacobs takes that little look to the inside. I think just trying to stay in the mirrors right now of the 24 machine. But even coming down the hill there, we saw Labano picked up a couple car lengths. As we've got more activity here, Larry, in Orion land.
That's John Sterling now being the victim, doing the exact same thing that Scott Brooks did a lap ago in the same place. Nope, sorry, this is coming down to turn 8.
This is coming to turn 8, and Schwenke now shuffles Robert Hartley back into third position. They had both come out of turn 5 side by side, heading up the hill just as they were coming up on the back of that TCR machine. It looked as though Hartley may not have gotten a good run out of 5, and so Schwenke takes advantage of it. And now the former leader of the Orion train, Larry, is now playing the caboose. Maybe he's getting a little bit of a pull there. Getting his fuel savings in.
As excitement comes our way in TCRs, as Whitworth and Violet go side by side now as they come through Bill Mitchell and head through 14, still side by side as they head to the front straight. It's a drag race among 4-cylinder Hondas.
Hey, it's 300 plus horsepower 4-cylinder Hondas, my
There's
friend.
a lot of horsepower in those little Hondas.
That's right.
Violet looks like he's got the advantage, but there's a bit of a side draft for Whitworth if he can tuck up against him.
We'll see if he can come in late, and yeah, he's coming up now towards the end here as they get under braking in the 1.
They're demonstrating how fast you can go around here side by side. Their last lap a 2:22.4, 2:22.5,
which is still a second and a half faster than third place John Sterling.
Of all of the TCRs. That's Chris Thorman from 4th pitting,
and Brendan Horn coming in from 5th. Your former leader in AM.
So here's what's interesting. 75-minute race. We are at the 34th minute. Tells me that these guys are planning on going to the end. Which makes you wonder why Bobby stopped early in the race.
Yes.
But we'll keep our eyes on that because Bobby was leading when he came in. I don't know that he's had the pace, although he did just turn his fastest lap of the race at a 2:15.10. But he is about 50 seconds or so behind the battle of Labano and Osborne. Brennan Horn comes out from his pit stop, currently in 3rd.
And there's a replay, Larry.
Oh.
I don't know if you caught that. That was Tom Jenkins in the number 68 Aston Martin, who caught a lot of wall with a lot of speed. As you might expect, he now finds himself back in the pits getting repairs. Currently shown as 10th in AM, 21st out of 22 cars.
So fairly large impact.
And also in the pit lane, David Payton, who we talked about earlier, had that big off at turn 14. He is now about to hit his 6th minute behind the wall as they're trying to get repairs done to that car and hopefully get back out.
You can see Russ Ruddock there in the BMW, also in for his pit stop. Just ahead of Tom Jenkins's car that's been in there for a minute and a half.
And a full minute now for Russ Ruddock. Maybe
now notice this. These guys are starting to be able to pull away from Steve Daniel as the 3 Orion cars, like Mo, Larry, and Curly, the Stooges are making their way in.
Which one's Curly?
We'll see what order they come out in. Remember, Hartley only got shuffled back here in the last couple of laps. It seems
that's
Schwenke
the Curly shuffle, right? Yeah.
Exactly. The Schwenke and Dam had opportunities to save some fuel. We'll see if it pays off here and who comes out first. I do love the passing of the pit lane when there's a pit lane speed limiter.
Yeah, somehow it works, and so Osborne is in the pits now as well.
And the three Orions are up in the air getting tires, as also behind them the rest of the GT4s are in.
Yeah, that entire fight for fifth position, all in at the same time.
Take a look there, though. You got Chuck Labano getting to his spot before Osborne. Essentially passing Osborne on the way down pit lane. Osborne might be using a lower pit speed. I can't talk tonight. Pit speed limiter. So let's see but he's not taking tires. This is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting fight here at the end, as all 3 Orion racers come out at the same time, side by side for a moment. There are Hartley and Schwenke, as they both came across the nose of
Schwenke may have crossed that yellow line just part way on his way out of the pits, so hopefully that was not a penalty for him. But it does put Mike Dam into the lead. Hartley able to leapfrog back Chris Thorman just about that same 3 seconds back or so. Brennan Horan. Everybody has now stopped in GT4s. There's Bobby.
As Daniel's back underway, Osborne is underway, and it looks like Steve Daniel had leapfrogged Chad Osborne as well.
Perhaps, yes, different class, but I do believe he has. Labano now third.
But just that Osborne, who had been at the front of that entire pack, had, of course, Labano get past him, so Labano moves up into third in AM. Steve Daniel managed to get by Osborne as well in that exchange. So Osborne losing four positions overall.
Jeff Jacobs getting around Labano right now. Now Labano went to third because Bobby Childs actually did get by. Remember, he did that first pit stop at about 10-12 minutes into this thing. But he's currently in second, but we don't think Bobby can make it to the end, so we'll have to see how his splash and go goes. But the rest of these GT4s appear to have enough to maybe make it to the finish, as Labano and Jeff Jacobs are having a good little scrap between the two of them here.
That was a great move by Labano as they came down in the 5, and Jeff Jacobs managed to get around the number 34 machine, and then the 34 just carried more speed up the hill, was able to return the favor going through 6. And I think Chuck Labano is starting to get a hang for this place.
I think he is. I'm fascinated if we're given the opportunity to interview him again, if he seems to have changed his tune a little bit around this place, but we'll see. That's Russ Ruddock trying to get out of the way. He should be the quicker.
New TCR leader, Brandon Whitworth.
Ruddock should be the quicker of these, but through this tight, twisty stuff, the TCRs are pretty much match speed for speed with GT4s, but as we come down, round down to turn 8, then the GT4 starts to pick up a little bit of pace. But yeah, watching that battle of Whitworth now ahead of Violet is an intriguing one. I suspect each one of them have led for a while as Ruddock goes wide at 8.
Yeah, and there's the big apron there. On the exit of turn 8, and Ruddock, I think, got that and maybe a little bit of that gravel that's a little bit further along as we saw him get into the brakes to try and get the car back under control.
I didn't catch how much curb he may have caught at the apex of 8. Sometimes you can hit that so hard the car bounces and shoots you to the outside. But, oh, look at this. Jacobs gets around Labano now going into 1. So, again, they swap positions.
And now you have Steve Daniel, who's back in this fight here. Obviously, he's got a lot of incentive to get around Labano. You know, prior to the pit stop cycle, Daniels had fallen off the pace of Labano and Jeff Jacobs. But here, as you can see, getting a much better run out of turn 3. You know, and a bit of a surprise there that Chad Osborne, he's not even in the picture right now. There's Osborne much further back.
That's not Osborne. Osborne's in a BMW. That's a Mercedes
right.
back there.
Ooh.
That might be a lapped car. There is
Yep,
Osborne.
there's Osborne just
24.
now coming through 5. He's almost 7 seconds back.
Yeah, he's a pretty far way back. I don't know what happened in his pit stop. I know he was slow through the pit lane, but he may have had a slow stop as well, unfortunately for him, taking him down to 4th. But again, Bobby Childs still needs to make a stop, as we've got Scott Brooks from the TCR category coming in. Brooks is running 3rd behind Whitworth and Violet. This will be his only stop of the race. See if he's able to hold it ahead of Sterling, who's out there already having made his stop.
All right, and so Steve Daniel now manages to work his SKKJ BMW around Chuck Lobano, so move Lobano down to the 9th overall.
Yeah, we had seen that pass on the back straight. Lobano actually appeared to have lifted pretty heavily to let Steve Daniel take that spot. I'm starting to wonder if he's recognizing the situation that his rival is Osborne behind him. Yeah. And since he's got that 7 seconds, why mess it up? Why play around? Let these two pro category guys do what they do. Their pace is about the same anyway.
Right.
If you start dicing it around, you're just going to lose pace. And that Bobby Childs in front, I don't know if he realizes Bobby's going to have to stop again. He might, knowing that Bobby made that jump after making an early stop. So he may be thinking that 2nd place is his if he could just be conservative at this stage.
All right, as we jump back up to, let's see what order they're in right now, Larry. It's Dam, Hartley, and Schwenke, our top 3 drivers. And that is how it's in. And, again, question is whether or not they will need to come back in. We don't think they will. And, and they've shown time and time again that they're fairly masterful.
It seemed like everybody had stopped at that 34th minute, leaving them theoretically 36, but by the time you come out of the pits, there's about 35 left. And they did have to fuel for the full lap of the pace lap too. So I suspect that everyone's expecting to go right up to the end. As long as we don't get one of those, 74, 59, and one more lap to go sort of deals, I think everybody will make it. As it looks like our TCR battle is going to be waged in the pits. Which half of the D2D TCR pit crew is the faster one? We're about to find out.
They've got to be faster than the Ferrari pit crew. All right.
Let's not go there.
I'm not going to. All right, as they're both into their stalls at almost identical times. We're not seeing the cars go up in the air, so it looks like they're gonna stay with the front tires that they have on the car, Larry, and just take fuel.
And just to note, in this battle, Sterling did end up ahead of Brooks again after the pit exchange, but can't quite tell how much between them. But as these two come back out together, but maybe Eric Violet just a little bit quicker on the release. Let's keep our eyes on this one. I don't think this battle's going to open up at all. Look at that. All 5 of our leaders between the Pro and TCRs are in the same shot. The 2 teammates, the TCRs, coming out of the pits with the 3 Orion guys leading 1, 2, 3 in the GT4 Pro.
Well, see, this is easy now. John and John can just use one shot for both lead battles.
They have to pick which car to be on to get all 5 in the same shot. They're choosing wisely. As Mike Dam leads this train, geese flying in formation. Yes, that is a Canada goose at the head of this train. Dad jokes galore.
They're going to take this gig away from both of us. You know that, right?
But we have a following now.
Yeah, that's true.
And so does Mike Dam. He's got a following, too, of a couple of teammates that would like that position, but they don't need it yet. They've got about 30 minutes until they want to take it away.
Yeah, a little bit less than a half hour remaining here at the National Park Speed. 75 minutes for round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series, and running very wide. Coming through turn 5. Was that Chuck Lobano? It was. And he gets things gathered back up.
Yeah, might have broke a little bit too late. Now he's hitting the reset button. I said, okay, let's not do anything dumb.
And and we said he's got a bit of a cushion right now, although
You can see it back there. You can see
yeah,
Osborne.
I was just going to say, Larry, what was
It's
2 laps
down to
ago was a
4.
7-second advantage. We can see Osborne in that group there. It is now down to about 4.5 seconds.
But keep our eyes. He would much rather be up there with Jeff Jacobs and Steve Daniel, as those guys seem to be running up pretty close to his pace anyway. As Whitworth goes up on the inside of Violet.
Gosh.
As they are again side by side. One more run down the front street. Lost count how many times they've swapped positions already.
It's going like a good Formula Ford race now. All right, here as they're coming down into turn number 1 with Violet to the inside, Whitworth to the outside, and with the outbraking is Eric Violet. Coming down the pit lane now, Bobby Childs for that second pit stop, Larry.
Might be regretting that pit strategy. It's a very, you know what? He does love his Ferraris. He is doing pit stops like a Ferrari tonight, so he's staying true to brand on that.
Stubby's your strategy guy. This is what's going to happen to you. Sorry, Stub. All right, here, and there's Chad Osborne, who now lost on that last lap about a second to Chuck Lobano.
He did manage to get around that car that he was following. I don't know if that was the Dale Maxwell car.
Maxwell,
perhaps?
I believe it was the 111 Mercedes. Yeah. But you know, at this point, just a lot of clear sailing for the number 24 machine. He's got to put his head down and drive consistent laps, much like he did prior to the pit stop when he had Steve Daniel or Jeff Jacobs sitting on his bumper the entire time. He just has to concentrate a little bit, and we'll see, because you know, we see there just ahead Lobano getting caught up in some traffic. And this might be advantageous for him.
That could help Chad a little bit as he was making his way around one of our TCRs. It was probably Sterling, I suspect, in the Honda. That number 87, just
87
entering the shot there. There he is.
Yep.
So yeah, Sterling doing a little bit to help out Mr. Osborne. As now Lobano, with Bobby's second fuel stop underway and completed, Lobano now jumps up to the second spot. Brennan Horn, of course, leading the GT4 AM, but Lobano in second, Osborne in third, and Osborne just out of shot. But in the shot now is Brennan Horn, your leader in the AM. It's been quiet for him since Bobby's early fuel stop, you know, about lap 5 or 6 in this race. Brennan's pretty much had no one to dance with.
Yeah, and you know, and also then when Thorman had separated himself out from Horn, seemingly Bobby Childs was that bridge up to the top 4 drivers. And when Childs dropped off, I don't know if it was a conscious decision on Horn's part to maybe drop off the pace a little bit, but he fell back from Dan Hartley, Schwenke, and Thorman. But you know, finds himself right now ensconced in the lead. He's still about 11 seconds back off the top 4, but you know, again, for our AM category leader to be sitting in the top 5, still very commendable.
Absolutely, yeah. And right now he's about to put his teammates in the D2D TCR cars down a lap. I think he's going to be considering Magny Core a little bit more careful when he goes to make this pass.
I was going to say, don't go and count your chickens before they're hatched, Larry. I don't want to break out the announcer's curse, but nothing is sacred here.
If something were to happen, I'm all in favor of somebody becoming a verb. I do love that.
I've been warned.
We'll see here. He's going to take his time, perhaps once they come around the carousel. That's a wide line, though, and not the grippiest.
Nope.
See if he waits till after the kink.
Apparently Brennan didn't read Eric's pre-race notes.
The outside line is not good. There he goes around Whitworth. We'll see if he can get Whitworth and Violet in the same straightaway. Probably not. It's a long run, but not that long. Good picture there to send the sponsors of the the leading AM car and the 2 leading TCR cars all on the same team.
And we see here there's really no opportunity for the GT4 cars to be able to get around the TCR up through Bill Mitchell. So he's just going to have to wait until they get onto the Road America straight. He pops to the inside, and that should be the
really
last time he sees
it's a top end difference is really what it is. They go through the twisties about the same, but it's that top end where the GT4s have the advantage. Very different than what we had seen last week with the GT3s and those GTPs, where it's speed delta everywhere. It doesn't matter where. They've got downforce, they've got top end, they got everything. Don't have that same thing here, but it does mean the GT4s have to just wait a little longer to get around those TCRs and can't quite do it any place they want.
You know, and this is maybe, Larry, the raciest I have seen these 3 drivers in many a round. It's also, I think, the raciest I've seen Robert Hartley probably all season long.
Yeah, it's great to see him back in true form. He's taken a couple weeks off. I don't think he's been running many of our World Challenge Series races, but
he hasn't.
It does seem he's dialed in here in the GT4 of our Sports Car Series, and he may be having his eyes set on this one. I don't think he's got a win yet this season in this series. I think Schwenke comes in with a couple of wins, and but I think for Hartley, probably feeling tonight might be his best shot. I'll quickly check the standings. Yeah, Hartley did win round 1 at Road Atlanta. Mike Dam's got a whole string of second places.
And Schwenke's gotten pretty much everything
and
since
Schwenke's
that opening
got the
round.
rest of the wins. So both Dam's the one really coming in wanting that win. But Hartley, having been no better than 3rd the last 5 rounds, probably would like to see that top step of the podium here tonight. But both of them want to make sure that Schwenke stays right where he is, stays put and gets that 3rd place point, and doesn't get any more first placers.
Well, I guess it's Mike Dam's night if he can keep the car on track and keep the nose pointed forward.
As a commentator, I never say it's anyone's night. That's how you throw a jinx out there, jinx.
Well, that sorry, Mike, that was the plan. Putting my small finger on the scales of justice. Here it is. They start to come down the hill, working lap number 24, and we've got just now a touch over 20 minutes remaining.
We'll see back to these two. Whenever you think the race isn't good, just flash to these two. They'll be swapping positions at about every other corner. Right now it's Violet over Whitworth. But I suspect by the time we get to turn 5, that could change again. Who knows?
May change under braking.
Yeah.
All right, coming in now, Chad Osborne for a second stop, and this, Larry, is
this.
Yeah, this is a rather large development now, and certainly now is going to give Labano the clearance that he needs. I think Labano, if he sees this, can with a good deal of confidence maybe drop the pace down just a little bit.
The question too is, where's John Casey? Because he's probably about 30 seconds back. There's John Casey. Currently running 4th in this category. This pit stop may have just passed. He just passed Osborne. There's Osborne coming out of the pits right now.
Yeah,
they're going to have in between them, I believe that's the Eduardo Lorente.
That's Lorente in the Porsche directly behind.
Yeah, so you got Lorente
that is
right
for position.
So now it's Lorente in 4th, Osborne to 5th. So that extra pit stop there, I don't know if maybe he realized he hadn't taken on enough fuel from his first stop. It's unfortunate if he did, because the second stop, as we've seen already for Bobby Trial, really is awesome.
Well, and given how long his first stop was to begin with. We weren't quite expecting that. And so that now is going to move Chad Osborne down to 5th in class behind both John Casey and Eduardo Lorente. And Labano now, though, I don't think Labano's got, he's got what, about...
Chuck's got a pretty good advantage
about
right now.
15, 16 seconds or so on Casey at the moment.
He's got about 30 seconds to Casey.
There you go.
But he's about 18 seconds back from Brennan Horns. And he's just kind of got his own little race right now. Obviously, he'd like to just kind of keep his eyes on that battle in front of him with Jeff Jacobs and Steve Daniel, just as a good marker, a good pace to stick with. If he does that, he'll have a pretty good result here. But behind him, it's going to get interesting now with that Casey, Lorente, Osborne battle, because we know the three of them can see each other.
Right.
And there's only one more podium spot currently not spoken for. Casey has it, but Lorente and Osborne want it. That's also a good battle in the for the 5th spot in Pro between Jeff Jacobs and Steve Daniel. These two veterans, 2 different cars, 2 different German makes, but Steve Daniel's looking like he may be wanting to push this thing as we get into the 57th minute.
Yeah, and he's been staying fairly close to Jeff Jacobs ever since he got around Chuck Lobano about 8 laps ago, and as the time is running down, I think he's just sitting back and taking note of what Jeff Jacobs has been doing, and takes a quick look to the inside coming down into turn 5, but as he's almost 2 car lengths back, I think he knew that would be a very late lunge under braking in the 5. Gets back behind the number 38 machine and take a look, maybe take a look a couple corners later.
Steve tends to be a relatively conservative driver, but I think if opportunity presents itself, he maybe want to take it. And I do see a couple of TCR cars just on the horizon in front of them that maybe one of those opportunities coming very soon.
As I was thinking about this, because when we saw before the pit stops, we saw Chuck Lobano get around the number 96 of Steve Daniel going down into Canada. It really had looked as though Jacobs was, probably not Jacobs, that Daniel was really conceding the corner. He backed off, if anything, let out of the throttle a little bit. But it was interesting to see because what he ended up doing, yeah, he let out of the throttle a little bit, but was much softer on the brakes and had a ton of exit speed out of Canada. And I think if he had pushed the issue, he might have been able to get underneath Lobano going into turn 14. We should be watching that as he works Jeff Jacobs a little bit, towards the end of this race. I think down there might be advantageous for him here as we jump back over to the lead 3 of Dan Hartley and Schleife.
Yeah, with less than 20 minutes to go now, again, nothing's really changed here since the pit stop. But, this is a development.
Yes,
Jeff Jacobs, we were just talking about the battle with Steve Daniel. Jacobs in for another pit stop. So I'm wondering if these guys are realizing that they couldn't make it without doing some fuel-saving strategies. So Jacobs is going to be willing to come in for that splash and go. We'll see how far down the order he drops. Certainly that puts Steve Daniels up to 5th now. But does Jacobs get anywhere near the next one in the order? It should be Peyton. I don't think that's going to be an issue because I think Peyton's pretty far down.
I think Peyton is sitting down all the way 20th overall.
Yeah.
And I believe also 2 laps down.
Just a 5-second stop for Jeff Jacobs, but the penalty there that hurts the part is so much
the incredibly long pit lane.
It's the mile-long pit lane that is Road America. There's Hartley still.
Almost the entire length of that front straight.
Yeah, Hartley still the Moe and the Larry Moe and Curly sandwich here. As far as I know, none of the Three Stooges were Canadian.
No.
But in this case, one of them is, and that's Mike Dam currently leading this train. But Hartley looks racy. You said it a moment ago that Hartley looked a little more racy than he had been earlier in this season. To the point where he may be trying to force Dam into a mistake. Not easy to do. We've seen Mike Dam under a lot of pressure over the years and never seems to crack for it. But at this place, just enough of a draft, Hartley might be able to do something if we get down to the last couple laps.
Yeah, and so, again, at Rudskogen 2 weeks ago, Hartley had an off on lap 1 that set him all the way back towards the rear end of the field, and he ended up finishing 5th in class, almost towards the very back of that GT4 Pro field. But once he had that off, he hadn't impacted anything, but he just seemed overly cautious at a track that perhaps he didn't know very well, to initiate passes and try to make moves to move up through the order. Here, I guess he's in a safe place, Larry, right back behind his teammate with the longest straightaways in North American racing.
Well, he's in a good place, but remember, whenever you're in the middle of a threesome, the problem you run into is every move you make in front of you potentially leaves you exposed to a move behind you. And Schwenke coming in obviously doesn't necessarily need the points as much as these two, but a win would almost certainly lock him into the championship. So Travis may be watching this carefully, and I'm hoping so is Rob Hartley, watching Mike Dam go off at 7, just enough to slow him down, but not enough to be able to make the pass for Hartley. But certainly these two now are even closer. Schwenke has got a great view of it, but Hartley just looking for opportunity, and that might be one of them. Look how he's right up under him as they come up to the kink.
And lo and behold, Larry.
To no one's surprise, we've got a chain to the lead again at TCR. Shuffle the deck. Which one is it? It's Violet in front of Whitworth this time.
And coming up the front straight, looking at Bobby Childs here. Bobby Childs now sitting in 6th, and I don't know, he looked somewhat slow coming out of turn 14. I'm wondering if he's starting to do some additional fuel savings, because maybe lap number 2 wasn't enough. The other thing here is as we watch Whitworth and Violet now.
That replay though explains why Bobby may have been slow. Out behind the shrubbery is a Bobby Childs, tail between his knees, back on the track. Didn't appear to make contact with anything, but that certainly wasn't the fastest corner exit.
No, tried to make an early exit for Schwartz's dinner
here comes
club,
a move
apparently.
now. Dam to the inside. Or sorry, Dam to the outside. It's Hartley to the inside for the lead. Dam gonna concede? I don't think he is.
Not yet, as they're now still side by side as they come down the hill into 3. And what does Schwenke do?
Oh, he's still not going to give it the spot. On the inside is Hartley. Dam's still on the outside, but the only one getting a run is Schwenke.
Yeah, well, and we saw Hartley have to check up something mightily, Larry, as they got to the apex, and I think he saw his future ahead of him, and his future involved eating the right-hand door of Mike Dam's car.
Travis backed out of it. So disappointing, because he had a heck of a run while these two were messing around in front of him, trying to figure out who was going to take the inside line. Instead, we're right back where we started half a lap ago.
Yeah, here we go. We do it all again.
But it does show that Hartley's being the aggressor right now.
Yeah, as we're now under 15 minutes left here at the National Park of Speed for the Ricmotech Sportscar Series, and Larry, they were so close to getting together. And how as Hartley was pounding over the apex curb at 3, he did not end up in Mike Dam's door. I don't know. There was a quick flash of the brakes, and you could see him drop the pace down there. If he had gone through with the speed that he intended on carrying, I think both Dam and Hartley would have ended up off driver's left.
Oh, it's beautiful stuff to watch, and I really was hoping Travis Schwenke would take that opportunity to make the run and go right by both of them into 5, but he didn't. Instead, he let the two of them sort it out. But Hartley, again, look at him coming through candidates right on Dam's bump.
And notice now Schwenke has decided to give them maybe 3.5 car lengths so that he has a little bit more time to repair in case those two do get together.
And Hartley runs a little wide at Bill Mitchell. But he gathered it up a lot like Bobby Childs did earlier. Didn't penalize him as long as you stay in it, but I don't think he's going to make the move into 1 this time. I don't know if he's got backward or not. Maybe? Not quite close enough to make the run this time. But the previous lap time, by the way, for Hartley was a 14:09. That was the lap where he made the attempted move into 1. He used all that draft and then run off of 14. You get there, didn't end up making it stick, but he knows that there's opportunity there. He just has to make a second. I don't think he could get the draft to pass before start finish on the last lap. I think he's going to have to be in front. I don't know if there's enough draft to pass before the stripe, starting the last corner in 2nd. But look at this. He's again up underneath.
Those are 2 TCR cars coming to 14. They're going to go up the Road America straight and start their 27th lap, or probably their 28th lap. But we'll get back to them in just a little bit as things wind down a little bit more. But Hartley now back finally up to the back of Mike Dam, well, here we go back to the TCR cars. I don't know if Schwenke is intentionally hanging back there. He's been a little bit off the pace of Hartley and Dam so far today, but
I get the feeling he is, and he's letting the two of them just fight rather than trying to make it 3. Or maybe he's seeing an opportunity to get them both, but doesn't want to cause a wreck. So maybe he's just biding his time. He's running out of time. Just 10 minutes to go in this race. These guys, however, it's just a two-way fight. And Violet, Whitworth, Violet, they just keep swapping order. The question is, who will lead down to the checkered flag first?
You know, and as they have almost a half-minute advantage right now over Sterling back in third, they could do this and pretty much run side by side, I think, all the way to the checkered flag here and still not have to worry about defending against Sterling.
They don't seem to have any problem, which means their tires must be holding up just fine. They don't seem to have any issues still fighting it, 65, 66 minutes into this race. And still turning 221s while they're at it.
And look at this, Larry. John Casey and Chad Osborne. And this is for the last podium position in AM.
Yep. So Osborne, after that second stop, has made the recovery to get past Casey. And you can see just behind him is Eduardo Lorente, who again was in front of, I believe he was in front of Osborne when this all started. So Osborne has made his way past two. And oh no, our leader in GT4 AM, that's Brennan Horan, is on his way in for his second stop. Did Labano take enough fuel to go to the end? If he did, he might find himself in the lead here in about 10 more seconds.
Well, we're gonna find out soon enough here, Larry. I think this is going to be enough to put Labano at least temporarily into the lead in AM. It's just going to be whether or not he can make it to the checkered flag on the existing fuel fill here as we're continuing to watch this. And this has been the best battle, Larry, that we've seen from Orion, I think, certainly all season, and maybe even back into season 3 as well. I mean, we typically don't see this from the 3.
Hartley in a couple of these corners, I think, is a hair quicker. He's a quicker through 6, which gives him that advantage going into 8, but he's not able to do anything with it. He seems to be quicker out of the carousel as well. It's just whether or not he's willing to shove his nose in as they get past the kink all the way into Canada.
Well, let's see. We'll see what happens when they come
Maxwell
up.
Gets out of the way.
And they're going to be coming up on the BMW of Russ Ruddick there in a few moments as well.
Yeah, Ruddick's going to want to move, and oh no, that's Brandon Whitworth. He's got all kinds of damage.
Yes, there is definitely damage there on the right front of that machine. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened as they came down into turn 1, Larry. Under braking, Violet the lead car, Whitworth the second. Whitworth, he hooks the wheel.
Yep.
And gets
just
the
got a little bit of that grass on track left and sent him off to the right. Luckily, didn't hit his teammate at all. But unfortunately, wait a second, Schwenke.
Where is the third of the Orion racers, Larry?
Schwenke is noted as out. Wow. Oh, wait, no, he's back.
No, he's back. He's magically reappeared.
You don't see that in real world sports car racing, do you?
Poof.
Something only Sim can bring you.
It's
somebody's like data connection on the fritz.
Doug Henning was a race car driver.
Yeah. The Houdini trick there for Travis Schwenke. But he's back, and he's in it still.
That's how you do fuel saving, Larry.
Well, look at this. Hartley with a run. Is this going to be enough? He doesn't have many opportunities left with just 6 minutes to go. Does he have enough of a draft to get a kind of a dive move into 5?
No.
Not this time.
And you saw as soon as he took a peek to the inside, Larry, before they got in the brake zone, he ended up losing like maybe 3 feet. It was that much of a difference stepping out into the dirty air.
Real quick note, Brennan Horn back out on track in second, does hold into a second spot despite that stop. 13-second fuel stop. And I'm looking at the other ones that had to do a splash and go. Jeff Jacobs, 5 seconds. Chad Osborne, 8 seconds. So wow. Brennan's 13 seconds. Now he is still a good 20 seconds behind Chuck Labano, so even a faster stop probably wouldn't have helped him at all with that mile-long pit lane there. But Labano, if he can just sip some fuel for the next 6 minutes.
For 5-6 minutes. And the gap between them is, as you see there from the timing tower, is a little bit over 20 seconds.
Interesting stuff between who's able to make it 75 minutes and who can only make it 73. All right, this Hartley still behind Dam as they go through Canada Corner. see if Hartley can get a run coming off of 14. He's probably only got maybe 3 more chances, depending on the timing stripe.
And he's a fairly long way back there before they get into the braking zone, almost 3.5 car lengths back. Made up a little bit under braking going in the 14, but he's got to get one heck of a draft here down the front straight, probably more of a draft than we've seen.
May only get 2 more laps as they cross the stripe at the 1:10.44, so about
2:14 per lap.
Yeah, it's gonna be really close.
They
may not be enough for a 3rd lap. The next time by could be white flag, so Hartley has to know that and has to think about when to make a move if he can do it. Right now, critical points here, obviously, coming off of turn 3. Critical
Larry Chris Thorman now pitting in from 4th as he ran out of fuel.
This could be interesting then for Steve Daniel, who is about 38 seconds back. I don't know if that's going to be enough. There's Daniel there, leading Chuck Labano, your AM leader.
And Labano getting a great draft at this point, too. Yeah, not going to be quite enough for Daniel to get around Thorman as Thorman rejoins here in the 73rd minute.
Back to the battle here of Hartley just harassing Mike Dam everywhere. He's 2/10 back all the way down, 30 downs through turn 8, under the bridge. He's just a couple tenths back, but he's gonna need to do it at the right spot. Either he's got to be 2.5 tenths when they get to the kink to have a chance to go through Canada, or he's got to be 2 tenths back when they come off of 14 to have a chance into 1 for what could be the final time, depending on when they throw that white flag. He's close enough this time, 3 tenths plus, as they come through the kink. Nope, not enough this time. But he has shown the ability to get a good run off of 14. The question is, how good of a run can Mike Dam get? He has to know that's the most critical corner for him right now. And again, I don't think they're going to get 2 laps. I think this is going to be white flag this time.
As the clock is now at 12:47, 12:48, and they head up the hill. Oh yeah, it is, Larry. We are definitely going to see the white flag in the air, and there it is. We are on the last lap here at Road America. Mike Dam, your leader.
Time.
A 2:13 for the very first time tonight, Larry. A 2:13.87 for Mike Dam as he Hartley into the wall coming out of turn 1. Same move as we saw just a little while ago from Brendan Whitworth in TCR, and
almost
Hartley
exactly the same.
And Hartley, he's gonna, for the moment, we'll see if he can. That was a hard hit, nose first in the wall. We'll see if he can keep that car rolling.
He's got about a 40-second buffer on Chris Thorman, but that's not our attention. Our attention right now is on Travis Schwenke. Can he do what Hartley couldn't? Schwenke now 8 tenths back is a long way, but if he can sniff some draft as they go through this turns 6, 7, and 8, and maybe have a chance. It's going to be tough though, as Dam leads Schwenke, Hartley currently 3rd, Labano leads Horan over an Osborne.
And Chuck Labano must be thanking the racing gods right now that that the Orion racers passed the start-finish line when they did. And of course, he's been locked in and drafting off of the back of Steve Daniel now for the last 5 laps or so. If he knows what's good for him, he's just going to let Steve Daniel pull him all the way to the start-finish line.
It's exactly what it looks like right now. And of course, Daniel has plenty of, these two guys have a lot of buffer around them because that car behind them is, I think that's Peyton. Not part of any battle, so nothing going on there. As that looks like Brooks in the Hyundai trying to just stay out of the way of our leaders in GT4 Pro of Mike Dam and Travis Schwenke. Schwenke not close enough this time. He's gained about 4 tenths since the incident with Hartley happened, but I don't think it's going to be close enough unless...
No, he's going to have to be right on his rear bumper as they come through 14 and try to draft him up the hill and slingshot past. That, you know, the finish line is a long way down.
Look at this run for Schwenke. Can he get an exit though?
He lost a little bit coming through 14. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, Larry, as they come up the Road America straight for the very last time, moving slightly to the inside. They're taking the win at Road America is going to be Orion Racing's Mike Dam. Travis Schwenke from Orion will come home in second. And Robert Hartley, he's going to manage to limp that number 3 machine home. He's going to take the third step on the podium. So it is still an Orion 1, 2, 3. As our 4th place runner right now, Chris Thorman, comes out of Canada for the very last time. Thorman, the only one of our top 4 drivers to have taken 2 pit stops. And he now comes through the final corner. He's going to run up the hill, and he should take 4th position. And look at this, Chuck Labano,
he's
out
slow.
of gas. Out of gas. He lost
But
the
he's
draft.
got a buffer. He's got 15, 16 seconds to Brennan Horn behind him.
But
If
he's
he
got to
can
go up
make
a
it.
very big hill, Larry.
Oh, this is going to be so close.
Chuck Labano currently leads GT4 AM. He's now got to go up the hill. And I don't think he's going to make it, Larry.
He's got 11 seconds to Brennan Horan.
And he's using the starter motor to pull him up the hill. There's Horan coming out of 14 now.
I don't think he's going to get there.
He's not going to do it, Larry. He comes to a stop right at the top of the hill. Chuck Labano, who led the last 5 laps of this race, loses the win on the last lap. Taking the win in GT4 AM is going to be Brennan Horan. Chuck Labano, he's now got to sit there as Chad Osborne. Chad Osborne comes across the line. Or does he? There you go. Chad Osborne now going to finish second. Eduardo Lorente is going to come home in 3rd. And Chuck Labano, well, it looks like John Casey's
got the same problem as
out
Bobby
of gas
Giles
as well.
Giles is going to get back to 4th with his 2 pit stops. So it looks like 2 stops in the M category was the way to go, as Horan, Osborne, and we know that Bobby Childs did. I think Lorente made it on a single stop in the Porsche. But look at the Orion cars for Dam and Schwenke.
They're not going to. They can't finish the cool down lap. They're out of fuel too. But surprisingly, they were able to get to the finish line, even with all that side-by-side racing. Larry, they were able to get to the finish line with just a single fuel stop. In TCR, Eric Violet takes the win in the number 89 machine from D2D Racing. John Sterling will come home in 2nd. Great run for Sterling there as he takes the Team Collusion Honda Civic Type R to 2nd. Scott Brooks in the number 49 Hyundai Elantra from Brooks Racing will come home in 3rd. And looks like with both Whitworth and Jones out, that is going to be your top 3, with Whitworth finishing 4th, Jones finishing in 5th. All right, Larry, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to some of our podium finishers here from the National Park Speed Road America, where you have just seen the 6th round of Season 4 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series presented by Performance Texas Elite Graphics. At least one of us will be back in just a few moments.
Allow Extreme Scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back to the National Park of Speed Road America, where you've just seen round number 6 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Sports Car Series presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics. I'm still here, oddly enough. I'm Greg Ginsberg along with Larry Lefty McLeod. And let's take a look at those results one more time. Taking the win tonight for Orion Racing, Mike Dam, Travis Schwenke finishing in second. Robert Hartley with what heartbreak with 2 laps to go, putting it off the wall at turn 1. He manages to limp home the car, only 12 seconds back in third. Chris Thorman and Steve Daniel rounding out the top 5 in pro. Brennan Horn will take the win in GT4 AM with Chad Osborne, Eduardo Lorente, Bobby Childs, Chuck Labano rounding out your top. Is that 5 or 6? I don't even. Yeah, I guess it's still 5. And Chuck Labano there, I think, just somehow getting the car across the line, or at least they're crediting him with 11th position overall and 5th in AM. But it was his for the taking, and unfortunately, he just came up around 600 feet short. Taking the win in TCR is going to be Eric Violet from D2D Racing Team Collusions. John Sterling will come home in second. Scott Brooks will come home in third in the Brooks Racing Hyundai, and then not running at the end, Brendan Whitworth and Marlon Jones. All right, so Larry, we've got some of our podium finishers sitting in the green room. Why don't we do this? Why don't we bring in first? We'll start off with John Sterling, finishing second tonight in TCR.
All right, so John Sterling's joined us from the TCR category. John, a bit of a crazy night and one pretty wild last couple laps. Tell me a little bit about your race.
Yeah, I was kind of hanging with the leaders for a couple of laps there, and as long as I kept the draft. The problem with my setup was, that kink, it got very loose. So I was like, almost like I was driving on ice through there. And so I was just like hanging out there in third, just keeping it on track. And then I noticed, with a couple laps to go, that second place runs off the track, and I'm like, hey, I can get another spot out of this. And towards the end there, I literally ran out of gas coming across the start-finish line. And I saw, I forgot who, man, it was Scott Brooks. He was like slowly closing that gap there. And I was starting getting nervous, and then all of a sudden he goes off track. And it's like, I guess I have this bubble around me where people just go off track.
Well, whatever it was tonight, it was working for you. You came into this race, I think, third or fourth was your previous high finish, able to get a second place. What's that mean to you, to be able to crack up into the second spot and finally to be up there with the D2D guys that always seem to have those first two locked out?
Well, yeah, Eric and them are pretty fast. This is my first season with XMS and TCR, and it's been a learning experience, and I haven't had a lot of laps to do practice before these races. Like the last 2 or 3 races that I was in, my practice was qualifying and any pre-race warm-up. So that's where my times would just shoot up after 2 seconds after a few laps, because I would learn the track then. This track I've been to before, so it wasn't that much of a learning curve, but like I said, I was just staying with Eric and Brandon for a few laps, and then after I lost the draft, it was pretty much, all right, I'm just gonna chill out for a while.
Yeah, well, the strategy worked. You saved just enough fuel to get to that finish and earn that second place here tonight. Anybody you want to thank for your efforts here tonight?
Yeah, I want to thank D-Dub's Button Boxes, our sponsor on the car, my teammates at Team Collusion, GT, and Alex Brown, and thank you guys for broadcasting the race. Thank the admins for XMS, and also thanks Ricmotech for sponsoring the series.
All right, so John Sterling, second place here tonight in TCR. Congrats.
All right, thanks so much for John Sterling, who, Larry, I think, no offense to John Travolta, I think is our boy in the bubble here. So let's move on to our winner in TCR driver, the number 89 D2D eRacing Civic Type R, Eric Violet.
All right, Eric Violet, winner tonight in TCR, and you and your teammate had the best 68-minute race that we've seen.
You know what? Actually, you know what? He's in the room. If you want to bring us in, we'll try to make it short so it's not a double interview. But
Sure.
we figured you might want to ask him what happened there.
Brandon. So, Brandon, we got you in here really just to make fun of you. I mean, to talk to you about your incident there coming off of turn 1. You guys had a fantastic race. Let's talk about that first. From Brandon's perspective, you guys, can you even count the number of times you guys actually changed positions in that race?
I have no idea. How about you, Eric?
But awesome racing. I mean, are you guys chatting with each other, talking trash, or what's going on between you guys as you guys are swapping, it seems, every corner?
A little of both.
Yeah, that's what I say. Talking trash.
So the trash talk was going great. The swapping of spots was just incredible to watch. Every time we needed some excitement, we put the camera on you guys, and you guys brought it every time. Until Brandon, you brought a little bit too much excitement. Tell me a little bit about your exit of 1.
I was having so much fun, I got a little carried away. And once you put the left rear over there, it's just, there's no saving it. It's immediately right turn into the wall.
Yeah. It's an unfortunate end to what was an otherwise great race, but if you want some commisery, you can go talk to Robert Hartley, who did the exact same thing about 3 laps later and ended his chance to win his race. But Brandon, let's talk to Eric. So Eric, you come into this race, you didn't be on pole. You decided it looks like to kind of bail on your last couple laps, probably realizing it's going to turn into a 2-man race. But
nope, I ran out of time.
Is it the strategy to wait for the cool weather and maybe wait a 2-1?
And I was short by probably about 10 seconds. I was coming to the last turn, started to go up the hill, and boop! I'm like, oh no. But he had it anyway. I think I was only up 500s, and I needed a 10th, and I was only up 500. So he would have gotten it anyway. But I was doing my best.
Well, it was a lot of fun to watch you guys as that race progresses, and we're hearing from everybody, not just the GT4s that seemed like half the field either ran out of gas or had to make a second stop, but it sounds like even in the TCRs there may have been, you had to watch that fuel gauge a little bit. Are you watching that through the race and making sure that you're going to make it to 75?
It wasn't too bad for the TCRs. We could have gone, we only took 10. I think we hold 13, so it wasn't that bad for us as far as the GT. Well, we weren't in the same situation as the GT4s.
Well, that's good, because half of them, it decided race. It was a crazy madness there. But for you guys, one heck of a show, put on a heck of a display, and it's great to see that kind of racing, but it's also great to see behind you guys, John Sterling and Scott Brooks end up there on that podium too. You got to be happy with how this TCR field is coming through.
Yeah, just I don't know what happened to some of the others, but we'll to see what happened. About 3 guys didn't show up, so yeah, could have been even better.
Well, get on those guys. Come on,
I know.
Come out and play. I mean, what's the point if you can't come out and play? It's
That's
too
right.
much fun. It's all kinds of fun. But for you got to have a lot of fun tonight and even got to pull home that victory for D2D. What do you want to give a shout out to this week?
I'm going to give a shout out to Chris, our foreman there. We almost had some D2D crime. So I'll have to go watch that replay. He was coming into Canada and almost took me out. So I don't know if he thought he had more room or what the deal was there, but
team order from Brennan Horn, maybe.
Yeah, no kidding. So, thank you guys, thank all the sponsors, making it quick, and then my wife said don't thank her for letting me race tonight. So I'll just thank her for wearing those pants.
Gonna leave it up, let that one hang there for a minute. All right, Eric. Congratulations on victory tonight for D2D Racing. Eric Violet.
All right, there you go. And Brandon Whitworth, and we know who wears the pants now in Eric's family. All right, let's move over now to GT4 AM. And Larry, and maybe because they were worried after seeing all the donuts and hitting the wall on the front straight, let's bring in Brennan Horn. He's our only driver in GT4 AM who's shown up to talk to us tonight.
Oh, Brennan Horn, what a crazy night. We're seeing everyone coming in for that fuel stop. But we saw yours come in. Bobby, his was really early. And I wasn't sure. I don't know if you thought you still had a chance to win when you had to come in for that splash and go. What were you thinking?
Well, that whole time, my all of my numbers going into this race told me that I needed to take 2 stops, and I was really comfortable doing that until I realized, with a couple laps to go, that there were some people ahead of me that didn't take 2 stops. So I was starting to get a little bit upset with myself that, I wasted all that time. I could have been saving because I was alone for most of the race, and I probably could have been saving. And I was kind of kicking myself for that. But, of course, then the end happened, and, I don't know. I'm just happy to be here right now.
Yeah, I mean, we all feel for Chuck. He had run a really good race. Just need that extra 200 feet to get to the flag. But in the end, you did take that stop. You knew you needed to. Good strategy there. Executed to perfection and better than Bobby's. You had to be able to come home for a victory here in the M category. But you had a strong race. You were running right up there with those front guys for quite a while. Were you trying to maintain pace, or were you just thinking stay comfortable and just run your own race here for the M?
Yeah, I was probably a little bit aggressive on lap 1, but I just wanted to get as far ahead as I could, just in case I accidentally got stuck behind someone that would hold me up. So I made as many, passes as I could, and then and that kind of worked out because there was a big gap behind me, and Chris and the Orion guys started to pull ahead away from me. So I was just kind of all alone most of that race, and it was kind of boring. But I don't know.
Not a bad thing when you're here at Road America. There's enough excitement around this track anyway. I don't know, you need too much more. But for you though, you got to have all the excitement afterward, doing the donuts there in the front straight and smacking walls. So that was fun to watch.
I gotta say, it almost didn't happen because, and I bet Jeff Jacobs thinks that I was running out of fuel, but going into the Canada corner on the last lap, while I'm still thinking I'm gonna get P2 in the AM class, I go to downshift into Canada corner and nothing happens. And I was in 5th gear from Canada corner to about the final corner, and Jeff was, really coming up on me. And finally I punched my wheel a couple of times in anger, and it worked again. So I got the downshift, and I got to keep Jeff behind me, and I managed to get by Chuck, so it worked out.
Awesome finish to an absolutely crazy night. Brennan Horn, anybody want to give a special thanks to here tonight?
Yeah, real quick, D2D eRacing, Chris, Bobby, David, Eric, and Brandon for the multi-class practice, Performing Elite Texas Graphics, you guys for the great broadcast, Ricmotech and Extreme for putting on this great series, and my family for their support.
All right, well, congrats again, Brennan Horn. Victory here tonight in GT4M.
All right, there you go. And Larry, who's to say that virtual racing isn't like the real thing? Because I know a number of racers that when stuff stops working on the race car, they just start beating the steering wheel, and miraculously it comes back to life.
The car says, okay, enough.
I think Brennan might need some anger management anyhow. But let's do this, Larry. Let's move on to GT4 Pro. We're going to start off with our second place finisher from Orion Racing. It's Travis Schwenke.
All right, Travis, you come into tonight with, I had lost count how many victories in a row, but you managed to come home in second. But boy, what a great battle with the 3 of you guys, the teammates there for most of the entire night.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And Mike was saying it before. It's not like none of us were trying. It looked like kind of a straight line. We weren't really trying to do anything, but man, we were pushing. That was pushed the whole time, and then we were trying to save fuel that whole last stint while still clicking off really good times. So that was definitely not easy.
If you guys could have been about maybe 15 seconds faster, you might not have gotten the white flag on that lap, and then it would have been really crazy.
Yeah, Mike was yelling.
It looked like you and Mike didn't make it around on fuel on the cooldown lap.
No, we wouldn't have made it. Mike even said, we did a slow lap. Why is it still telling us we need another one? So he was definitely trying to make sure we had a pace there where we didn't get that extra lap. So it was definitely on our minds that we knew we could not cross that next lap, or we would have had to stop and take a splash.
It was incredible to watch, and it just watching poor Rob with the incident there on the second to last lap, I think it was, where he right in front of you touches the grass. Are you just all over the brakes, or just a hard lift and saying, don't spin at me?
I saw it hooking across, so I knew I was okay to go. I was actually more worried when it came off the wall that it was going to come back across. So I was definitely just going, trying to get across. So I think I might have lifted right away, and then when I saw it was cutting across, I went back on it.
Yeah, a tense moment for sure. But for you, another podium finish, and we'll add the points up here. I know you still got the lead in there. Mike finally got his first victory this season, but you're doing all right. So go enjoy this one for the rest of the night, and a second place here for you, Travis. And I think we're gonna talk to Mike here in a minute.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, there you go. Travis Schwenke, driver of the number 16 Orion Racing BMW. Let's bring in now our winner, driving the number 93 Orion Racing machine, Mike Dam.
Mike Dam victorious here tonight, but boy, it was not an easy one by any means. Fighting fuel, fighting teammates, right up to the absolute checker flag right at the end. Tell me a little bit about it from your side.
Yeah, first of all, it's great to get one. I think it's been quite a while actually since I made it through a race without spinning or something. But yeah, it feels really good to finally get one. Yeah, it was a bit of the strategy was kind of up in the air the whole time with how long the race was going to go. We didn't know if it was going to be 33 or 34 laps, so a little bit tough there. But yeah, I was able to pull it off.
Yeah, it looked like you guys, just talking to Travis, you guys had that fuel calculation right to the end to say, if we just sandbag for a lap or two, we'll let that clock tick. We won't need to do that 34th lap, because it looked like you guys wouldn't have had enough fuel to even make it.
Yeah, absolutely. But definitely really tricky at the end there with me leading the whole last stint. There's real struggle to save enough fuel, and I was pretty lucky that I did. I'm not sure quite how, but yeah, Rob made a couple attempts there, and I thought he would have had me, I think, if he didn't spin there at the end. So,
well, you know, we had seen with about maybe 4 laps to go or something, Rob gets that move down the front straight into one, and the two of you go side by side a couple of corners. How close was it, you think, between you guys going through turn 3?
It was pretty close. I mean, I just hoped that we weren't gonna have contact, but yeah, I wasn't about to give it up, so I was gonna make him work for it. But yeah, pretty close quarters out there, but we're pretty comfortable with that usually. So it's good to be able to race that close.
Yeah, incredible stuff. It was a lot of fun to watch tonight. For a while, you know, it looked like it was just sort of a train rolling through, but at times that train got a little rocky, and it was a lot of fun to watch you guys dice now, especially when it seemed you had the fuel thing figured out and start clipping off 13s on your lap times. Was pretty insane. But awesome job tonight, finally getting off the schneid after a string of second places, getting that first victory of the season. Mike, who do you want to thank for helping you get here?
Just all the guys in this league. They make it what it is. It's a good time. Kevin and Jeff for putting the whole thing together. Frank at Ricmotech for sponsoring. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting, and just shout out to Travis. He puts a lot of work into the setups and stuff. So
absolutely. So a great night for you, coming home victorious for Orion Racing. Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you very much. Have a good one, guys.
All right, there you go. Congratulations to Mike Dam with his first win of the season. Eric Violet getting his 5th win of the season. Brennan Horn getting his 4th win of the season. All right, so Larry, we've got the points up, and I think we can pretty much just say that our current points leaders coming into the evening have extended their point leads. It's been a great run here, but let's take a look at what we've got coming up in the next few weeks here across our multiple Ricmotech series. Next week, March 27th, the Ricmotech World Challenge returns. We're going to be running the street circuit of Long Beach, beautiful Long Beach, California, for round number 6 of 7. As you can see there, it's going to be a 75-minute race next Monday night, 8 p.m. In 2 weeks, that's April 3rd. For all you April Fools, it is going to be the return of the Sportscar series. We're going to be heading over to the UK. We're going to be running Brands Hatch for round number 7. We're going to be going back to the 60-minute format for that event. And then make sure to join us. We can now tell you that round number 1 of the newly renamed Club Sport series, formerly the Classic Sprint series, now with not only the Mazda MX-5s, but also the Toyota GR86 Cup cars as well. It's going to be May 1st, and going to be at beautiful Suzuka. Going to be headed off to Asia. So for Larry Lefty McLeod, for Jonathan Grabowski, for John Robertson, I'm Greg Ginsburg. We'll see you next Monday night.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.